Alright, hello everyone, it's Pig Puncher back with another video. So, in the comments of yesterday's video on how BreadTube can defeat the alt-right, a lot of people were asking me to make a video about how right-wing reactionary content rose to prominence online, and basically just go over the history of the whole situation. I'm actually surprised I never thought of this before, since it is a very interesting subject, but I admit it's also kind of a daunting one. Online politics is, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's kind of a clusterfuck, so it can be hard to piece together a history of online politics like this, but I'm going to do my best. Also, one more thing, it seems like American politics are what have the biggest effect on online political discussions, at least on YouTube, so I'm going to focus primarily on that. So, let's start by going all the way back in time to 2008. Here in the United States, we were at the very end of George W. Bush's second term in office, and the country had had about enough of how shitty it is to have a Republican in office. Everything from trying to ban gay marriage to starting a war with Iraq believing that they had secret weapons of mass destruction, which they didn't, by the way. Everyone had enough of conservatives. Back then, young people, especially on the internet, spoke out loudly against right-wing Christians. This is where many of the old YouTube atheist skeptic channels got their start, criticizing how ridiculous the religious right is in the United States. The online political landscape had a blatant left lean. Even 4chan was surprisingly liberal, and it would stay like this for a while. Barack Obama was elected president, and there was now a Democrat in office with much more progressive values than that of most previous presidents. Don't get me wrong, Obama wasn't perfect, but times were relatively good. Due to Bush-era economic policies, the country suffered a depression for a little while, something the right blamed Obama for, but America bounced back from it after some time. Let's skip forward to 2014, when everything started to go wrong. So, a lot of things happened around this time, and it's important to go over all of it. For starters, 6 years had passed since Obama had been elected, which meant a lot of kids who were only 6, 7, or 8 years old back in 2008 were now teens. Many of them also played a lot of video games and spent a lot of time online. The big problem, however, is that they were too young to have a solid memory of a time when a conservative held office in the United States. This will become very important later. Around the same time, a phenomenon called Gamergate happened. What is Gamergate, you may be asking? Well, depending on who you ask, you will get a different answer. Some will tell you that it was a targeted harassment campaign aimed at prominent women in the gaming community, while others will say it was just a movement meant to bring about ethics in video game journalism. Yes, video game journalism. Back then I was on the Gamergate train, but I was a 15-year-old gamer. I imagine most functioning adults' reaction to this Gamergate fiasco looked something like this.
What the fuck is Gamergate? Video game journalism?
But if we look at Wikipedia, it says Gamergate stemmed from a harassment campaign conducted primarily through the use of the hashtag Gamergate. The controversy centered on issues of sexism and progressivism in video game culture. Gamergate is used as a blanket term for the controversy as well as for harassment campaigns and actions of those participating in it. Basically, a game developer named Zoe Quinn made a game called Depression Quest, and she allegedly had sex with some video game journalists in order to get some favorable reviews on her game. For some reason, this breach of the integrity of gaming journalism was the biggest sin ever unleashed upon the gaming community, and the gamers weren't happy. One pretty popular video game critic and feminist named Anita Sarkeesian made some videos about how very prominent members of the Gamergate movement were leading doxing and death threat brigades on Zoe Quinn, and she got herself caught in the crossfire. Around this time, Sargon of Akkad made his first ever video, and it was on Anita Sarkeesian, and so were his next 10 videos. Oh yes, Sargon rode the wave of relevance created by attacking feminists online, and he created a whole new subgenre on YouTube, the anti-feminist community. Everyone jumped on this craze of making videos on Zoe Quinn, Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, and other feminists, and I mean everyone. Independent game reviewers, YouTube atheist skeptics, let's players, I mean everyone. Whether it was on purpose or not, a whole generation of teen gamers was supplementing their entertainment with anti-feminist content. And it didn't just cover Anita. These creators went on to build careers on criticizing feminism. They would watch a video or two of a crazy feminist freaking out or something, and they would basically just sit there and make fun of them for a while. In doing this, their one-sided criticism of feminism created a straw man out of feminists, in the heads of their viewers, and cemented feminism as public enemy #1 to the gaming community. It didn't stop here though. The content from these creators started to branch out from just criticizing feminists to anyone who held beliefs they perceived to be overly progressive. The narrative that these creators started to push basically added up to feminists hate men, Black Lives Matter hates white people, and the gays have an agenda they are trying to push, and the left are a bunch of crybaby snowflakes who get triggered at harmless edgy jokes. Starting to sound a lot like that prude Christian conservatism that was so vehemently criticized by these same people only 6 years before, huh? Well, things got a lot worse as the 2016 election grew ever closer. More and more teens who had no political knowledge beyond what they heard from these YouTubers were now voting age, or close to it. The anti-SJW community had basically sided with Richard Spencer's alt-right, ironically, by simply joking like they were part of the alt-right, you know, to trigger the libtards. As many of these creators, many of them such as Shoe on Head and Amazing Atheist being liberals, laser focused on the left and feminism, the support for Donald Trump grew from just being supported by old baby boomer tradcons and edgy 4chan shitposters to being a legitimate candidate in the eyes of this community, mostly just because he triggered the SJWs. Well, you all know what happened. Trump technically didn't win the popular vote, but he still won the presidency, and he very quickly started implementing all of those horrible right-wing policies that were so hated only 8 years before, among other even worse things such as banning all trans people from serving in the military. I have to admit, many of the liberal creators who had just been caught up in the anti-SJW hysteria weren't happy about this. Some of them, such as Shoe on Head, had even apologized, but it was too late. 4 years of anti-left hysteria spreading across YouTube had done permanent damage. These anti-SJW reactionaries were making good money off of this content, and there was no reason to stop. The conservatives among them couldn't be more thrilled that they had played a part in turning a whole generation of teens to the right. The community continued to evolve. No longer did they criticize feminists who criticize games for being not inclusive enough. Now they criticize the games themselves that do end up being inclusive. They started claiming that Overwatch having gay characters is forced diversity, or Battlefield 1 having women in it is unrealistic and feminist propaganda. It has only gotten worse as time goes by. These very people who claim that all they wanted was to promote open discussion and prevent censorship were now praising the state of Alabama for banning an episode of Arthur that had a gay wedding in it. The largest YouTuber on the platform is a fan of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, and possibly even white nationalists like Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux, though keep in mind, a Twitter follow doesn't always mean they endorse that person. Either way, no matter where you go, what kind of content you watch, this reactionary shit will find a way to enter the conversation. And that is where we are now. The overall political opinion on YouTube is pretty right-leaning. In fact, even the alt-right has gained an amount of success that would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. But now it's time that we fight back against this. If you're curious on how we do this, please take a look at my last video, how BreadTube can defeat the alt-right. In that video, I went into detail on how we can fix all of this and fight the spread of right-wing sentiment online. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Also, please follow me on Twitch and Twitter. You can find the links to get there through the description down below, as well as join my fan Discord where you can talk to me and other fans directly. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. You guys are the best. Pig Puncher, out.